Welcome back to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me back.
This time, we're diving deep into Genesis, chapters 36 through 39.
Ooh, those are good ones.
We'll be exploring themes of identity, perseverance, temptation, and how these ancient stories resonate with our lives even today.
You know, they really do.
Buckle up because we've got a genealogy that holds surprising weight.
Oh, yeah.
A coat that sparks some serious sibling rivalry.
It's like the original sibling rivalry.
A woman who takes her destiny into her own hands.
Now there's a strong woman.
And a man facing a choice with some pretty big consequences.
What I find fascinating is how these chapters, while separated by time, speak to these universal human experiences.
They really do.
It's going to be interesting to see how these seemingly separate narratives connect in ways we might not expect.
All right, let's kick things off with Genesis 36, the genealogy of Esau.
Okay.
Now, I know genealogies might not scream exciting, but trust me, this one sets the stage for a lot of what unfolds later.
It's true. You might be tempted to skim over these lists of names,
I know I do.
but look closer.
Yeah.
Genesis 36 specifically focuses on Esau's descendants, the Edomites.
Right.
They become key players in later Israelite history, and this chapter lays the groundwork for their complex relationship with Jacob's descendants.
That first verse really grabs your attention, doesn't it? This is the account of the family line of Esau. That is, Edom.
Yeah, it does.
It's like a spotlight is being shown on them, emphasizing their importance.
Yeah. It makes you wonder about our own legacies, doesn't it? What will people say about our lineage thousands of years from now?
I don't even want to think about it.
Will we be a footnote, or will our actions have a ripple effect through generations? It ties back to what you were saying earlier about how these stories connect with us today.
Absolutely. And speaking of connections, let's move on to Genesis 37. Talk about a family drama. We meet Joseph and his brothers, and let's just say their relationship is strained, to put it mildly.
Yeah, a little bit strained.
Right.
Jacob's favoritism towards Joseph doesn't help the situation, does it? That ornate robe he gives him is a powerful symbol.
It's such a powerful symbol.
It screams, "This is my favorite."
Meh.
But for Joseph's brothers, it's a constant reminder of their father's preference.
I can't even imagine the conversations at the dinner table.
Oh, I know.
Oh, here comes Joseph with his fancy coat again, but the robe is only part of the problem.
Yeah.
Joseph's dreams really throw fuel on the fire.
Those dreams.
Imagine your younger brother telling you he dreamed of you bowing down to him.
It's like a powder keg waiting to explode.
Yeah.
Those dreams become a flashpoint. It's not just sibling rivalry anymore. It's a deep-seated resentment that boils over.
Yeah.
They see those dreams as a threat to their own position, their future.
Verse 8 captures their anger perfectly. Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?
Ugh, it's palpable.
Their jealousy is palpable, and it pushes them to make some pretty drastic choices. It makes you think about how we handle it when someone else's success triggers our insecurities, doesn't it?
It's a challenge we all face at some point. Jealousy is a powerful emotion.
It really is.
How do we acknowledge it, process it healthily, and prevent it from leading us down a destructive path?
So true. But amidst all this drama, Genesis 37 also reminds us that God's plans can't be derailed by human failings. Even in the midst of betrayal, God is working behind the scenes.
Absolutely. God's purposes are bigger than our limited understanding. That's a thread we see woven throughout these stories.
It is.
Now let's take a slight detour and dive into Genesis 38.
Okay.
We encounter a different kind of family dynamic, one that explores themes of responsibility, justice, and ultimately, redemption.
This story focuses on Judah and Tamar.
Right.
Tamar finds herself in a very difficult situation after the death of her husband.
It really is difficult.
And Judah, unfortunately, doesn't fulfill his obligations to her.
It's a situation where cultural norms and personal responsibilities collide.
Yeah,
Tamar is left vulnerable and alone.
she is.
Yet she shows incredible courage and resourcefulness in the face of adversity.
She takes matters into her own hands.
He does.
It's a bold move, one that challenges the societal norms of the time. What's remarkable is that she ultimately forces Judah to acknowledge his own failings.
That moment of recognition in verse 26 is pivotal.
It really is.
Judah admits, "She is more righteous than I, since I wouldn't give her to my son Shelah."
Wow.
It's a confession of guilt, a realization of the wrong he has committed.
It's a reminder that it's never too late to own up to our mistakes.
It's not.
Admitting wrongdoing can be difficult, but it's the first step toward making things right. It's about seeking reconciliation and finding a path toward healing.
And that path can be challenging, even messy.
It can.
Genesis 38 reminds us that Forgiveness and redemption are possible, even in the most difficult circumstances. It raises a question for all of us. Are there situations in our own lives where we need to take responsibility, to seek forgiveness, and to work towards reconciliation?
It's a powerful question to consider. And now let's return to Joseph's story in Genesis 39. He's in Egypt now, rising in Potiphar's household. But he faces a new set of challenges, ones that test his character in a whole new way.
He's a stranger in a foreign land, navigating a new culture and a new set of social dynamics.
Right.
It's a vulnerable position to be in.
And that vulnerability is amplified when he faces a very real temptation in the form of Potiphar's wife.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is where the story takes an unexpected turn.
It does.
You'd think, okay, here we go again, another power struggle, more betrayal.
Yeah, you think so?
But what Joseph does next is truly remarkable.
It is. In verse 9, he says, "How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?"
Wow.
His response isn't about social standing or fear of punishment. It's about his core values, his understanding of right and wrong.
It's an incredibly courageous act of defiance, especially considering the potential consequences. He's choosing integrity over self-preservation.
And that choice comes at a cost.
It does.
He's falsely accused and thrown into prison.
Oh, no.
It underscores a powerful truth. Doing the right thing doesn't always lead to immediate rewards.
That's true.
Sometimes it involves suffering.
That's a tough pill to swallow, isn't it?
It is.
It makes you think about the times in our own lives when we've had to make difficult choices, knowing that the right path might lead us through some dark valleys.
It certainly does. Joseph's story challenges us to examine our own values. What are we willing to sacrifice for the sake of integrity? How do we stay true to ourselves even when it's hard, even when it seems like no one is watching?
Those are questions worth pondering. But, even though Joseph's situation seems bleak, there's a sense that this isn't the end of his story. It feels like the calm before the storm, a pause before the next chapter unfolds.
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
Like the story is holding its breath.
Yeah, a sense of anticipation.
Right.
Like something bigger is about to happen.
Exactly. And that's what makes these chapters in Genesis so compelling. We see these seemingly disparate stories, genealogies, family dramas, personal struggles, all interwoven into this grand tapestry.
And what ties them together is this underlying theme of God's providence.
It really is.
Even when the characters make poor choices, even when things look bleak,
Right.
God is still at work, moving pieces into place, orchestrating events that will ultimately lead to his purposes being fulfilled.
It's a reminder that we're not just isolated individuals making random decisions. Our lives are interconnected, and we're all part of a bigger story.
And sometimes it's only when we step back and look at the bigger picture
Right.
that we can see how all the pieces fit together.
Oh, yeah.
How those moments of hardship, those trials, were actually shaping us, preparing us for something greater.
Think about Joseph.
Yeah.
He's been betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison.
He's been through a lot.
He has.
Yet he never gives up hope. He never loses sight of who he is.
That's what I find so inspiring about his story.
Me too.
Despite all the external circumstances, his identity remains intact.
Yeah.
He doesn't let his experiences define him.
Right.
He clings to his values, his faith.
It makes you wonder, what are the things that truly define us?
That is a great question.
Is it our job title, our social status, our possessions?
It's easy to let those things define us.
It is.
Or is it something deeper, something that can't be taken away by external circumstances?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is.
Because when our identity is rooted in something solid, something unshakable, it gives us the strength to persevere through any challenge.
Just like Joseph.
Exactly.
His story is a testament to the power of resilience. He could have easily become bitter, resentful,
Oh, yeah.
but he chooses a different path.
He does.
He chooses to trust, to believe that even in the darkness, God is still with him.
And that trust doesn't mean he's passive or naive.
It doesn't.
He's actively using his gifts, his talents, even in the confines of prison. He's interpreting dreams, offering counsel, making a difference wherever he finds himself.
It's like he's refusing to be defined by his limitations.
Right.
He's not waiting for someone to rescue him. He's creating opportunities, making the most of his situation.
He is.
It's an important reminder that even in the midst of adversity, we still have agency. We can still choose how we respond, how we use our gifts, how we impact the world around us.
It reminds me of that quote, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek."
I love that quote.
Joseph's prison becomes a place of unexpected growth, a proving ground where his character is refined and his abilities are sharpened.
It's almost like he's being prepared for something greater, wouldn't you say?
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's as if God is using these trials to mold him, to shape him into the leader he's destined to become.
It's fascinating how these chapters in Genesis constantly challenge our assumptions.
They really do.
We see genealogies that reveal hidden significance, a coat that becomes a symbol of both love and jealousy, a woman who boldly defies societal expectations, and a man whose integrity shines even in the darkness of a prison cell.
And through it all, we see this recurring theme of God's sovereignty.
We do.
He's weaving together these seemingly disparate threads, orchestrating events that will ultimately lead to a greater purpose.
It's a reminder that even when we can't see the full picture, even when we don't understand what God is doing, we can trust that He is working, that He has a plan, and that even our darkest moments can be used for good.
And speaking of plans unfolding, the story doesn't end in prison.
It doesn't.
In fact, it's only the beginning of a new chapter in Joseph's life.
Right.
A chapter that takes him from the depths of despair to the heights of power.
And that's what we'll be diving into in our next segment.
Right.
We'll see how Joseph navigates the complexities of leadership, how he uses his newfound position to impact an entire nation, and how he ultimately finds reconciliation with his family.
It's a story of forgiveness, redemption, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. And it has profound implications for our own lives. It really does.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Genesis 36 through 39, I'm struck by how these stories, though ancient, still resonate with our lives today.
You know, it's like they really do.
They really speak to some very human experiences.
They do, like jealousy, betrayal, forgiveness, perseverance.
All those things.
Yeah.
And we've seen how seemingly insignificant details like a genealogy can have a profound impact on the bigger picture.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We've explored the destructive nature of jealousy and the importance of taking responsibility for our actions.
Right. Owning up to our mistakes.
Exactly. And we've witnessed the incredible resilience of the human spirit,
Oh, for sure.
embodied in Joseph's unwavering integrity and his refusal to be defined by his circumstances.
He is a powerful example.
It's a powerful reminder that even when life throws us curveballs,
Yeah.
we can choose to hold on to hope,
Yeah.
to trust that God is working, even when we can't see the full picture.
Even when we can't see it.
Right.
These chapters offer us so much to reflect on.
They do.
They challenge us to examine our own lives, our relationships, and the choices we make each day.
What are those things in our own lives that we need to look at?
It makes you think, right?
It does.
It invites us to consider our own legacies, the impact we're making on the world around us, and the values we're passing down to future generations.
What kind of ancestor will I be?
Exactly.
What kind of impact am I having?
And ultimately,
Yeah.
they point us towards a God who is present in every detail, who is working through every twist and turn, and who is using even the most difficult experiences to shape us and to bring about his purposes.
So as we leave this deep dive, I'm left with a question for you to ponder.
Okay,
Which character from these chapters resonates with you the most, and why?
that's a good question.
What challenges are you facing that require integrity, perseverance, or a willingness to forgive?
Take some time to reflect on these stories and how they might speak to your own life.
That's great advice.
Allow them to inspire you, to challenge you, and to guide you on your own journey of faith and discovery.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking the truth that lies hidden within these ancient stories.